Alright, this isn't everything. I'm just beginning with these because as boxes it's a little bit trickier to I mean, this smaller individual DVD right-up box, this one would be fine. It's just this bigger one is going to require a little TLA, so might as well grab the advertisement. And we have the receipt behind that. And this is obviously a highly notable release, but before we look at that, I'm going to be very careful since this one's not cheap. That is not cutting the way I want, so let's see if this is enough. Sorry about the grunts directly into the camera. Let's see. Open it like this. See, this came with the same advertisement. And now we can get these over and just like a box, recycle. Okay, but you've got to be careful because these are both that scary styrofoam filled. It's nice and heavy. Yeah, okay. Nice big update today. Let's just pile it all up like this and start going through it. Beginning with case closed, one truth prevails. The Zero Enforce. Definitely curious. Hold on, it's being called case closed, and I can't get my hand into the plastic. Some annoying plastic. Right here. Let's see. 'Cause I was just thinking, Detective Conan was the name of the US release, so what are our audio options? English, Japanese. I don't recognize the name, so I don't know if it's one of the ones I already have. It is nice to know that Eastern Star Discotheque are starting to take a peek at the case closed stuff. Oh dear. Let's see. Yeah, so far that's good. Those are work messages. Now this is Persona 5, the animation, which I'm wondering if I already have, but I think this is an official US release. Maybe it's got a dub that wasn't there before, if I did get it before. Come on, focus. Because see, there's English audio. Yeah, because this one was saying it had the same voice actors from the game. So I figured if I did already have this, I probably did not have it with the dub. So take a, I don't open those things because there. We've got Joker, and I've never played this, so is this Jokat? Probably not. But oh, this is Joke Bro, Jokey. Because I don't know the names of any of these characters. Jokehawks? Oh shit. Well, I guess I'd flag these as not for kids, so it'll be kind of okay. That her name's obviously just Red. Okay. So are they all Phantom Thieves? Oh yeah, her. Okay. I see some really weird things done to her head. She's got a lot of forehead, I think. Oh shit, I should know the name of the cat. Take a small break to check those work messages. Okay, continuing on, we have My Hero Academia Season 4 Part 1, Part 2 limited edition coming soon. That's the one I will be keeping an eye out, just to get my fancy boxes. We're going under here to look for some sexy fingertips. Where I saw that somebody had dedicated fingertips. Better villains. So Region A, English dub, DVD Blu-ray versions with the English for Deku and Overhaul. Let's dig in. Let's fail to dig in. Let's take this and go. Piece of tenacious plastic annoying garbage. It's early enough in the morning. Some people might not have had their coffee yet. I don't drink coffee, so that ain't me. But doesn't mean I ain't not. There's a lot of faces here I don't recognize. It's almost like this is a season that I haven't seen before. How obscene, but unseen. Or unseen is obscene. In a way, it kind of is, just because it's My Hero Academia. It's a fun show. Next up, we have Space Adventure Cobra, the complete original TV series. Complete, not a part. It doesn't say SD on BD. So, it's off to a good start. Oh, and while we're on the back, I see 3 options for Japanese. English subtitles, looking for a good time. Really just looking for... Okay. I was just thinking, that looks familiar. Oh, yeah. From Japanese robot size comparison. Although they're not all Japanese, so maybe that's not. So it's a Japanese video originally. And my throat is just not clear. Oh well. Let's keep going. Fire Force Season 1. This should be Season 1 Part 2. Where's Season 1 Part 1? I'm just doing a quick look behind me. Because I don't... Oh, sorry. I don't know if I would... Season 1 Part 1 would be great to put in here. Oh well. There we go. So this is our back. I see Region AB. I see an English dub. Limited edition contains a lot of stuff, a lot of extras. So let's take a look at these shiny firefighters. These shonen firefighters. I mean, they don't fight shonen fires, but they're the creator of Soul Eater. Is that why they've got little fiery souls there? Not that it's in the fire, or the Soul Eater. This is the Fire Eater anime. Yeah, that's what this is, right? I think This is all information we already know from the other thing. So we're just opening it up to take a peek. I guess I was just double taking on this person, trying to think, wait, is that actually a girl or is that a guy? My first impression is girl. I mean, they're going pretty... Oh, here's all the girls on their force. That's... Huh, yeah. Not bad, just... I don't know, somehow unexpected. I think this was on the bottom. And then we just have this box includes, you know, this is taking up the space of one DVD so that my volume 1 or season 1 part 1, wherever I put it, it feels like there's one in between, but I guess not. They're just kind of thick. And this gives me a better look because they have a slightly more androgynous face than a lot of the others, but they do seem to have some there, so I'm guessing that's, you know, another female on the team. I'm guessing these are the people on the team. Let's see. I think that's everything that's in there. We have that guy who I keep thinking is maybe the main character. Whatever that is, probably the sign of their force. Oh, I thought this was a patch to sew on, but it's actually a pin badge. Well, that's pretty much everything. I'm going to put these back in here just because right now, since I don't know where I put part 1, I don't need that in there. People, and some scenery sketches. Next up, Bleach Blu-ray set 8. You know, right now I can't remember what the volume of the last set I got was, so it feels weird. It feels like these are coming out fast. I think they maybe can be, and I hope for Viz's sake they're coming out fast enough that they are doing good. Oh, different backs. That's not as common. And you got 4 discs. Everything in this world exists to wear you down. I was going to say, not true. I don't wear me down, but oh wait, yes I do. Galaxy Express 999 John Madden. This was a volume 3, I thought. Yeah, there we go. I'm seeing the 3 right there. Shit, where did I put 1 and 2? End of the line. Time to line. Audio is just Japanese with English subtitles. That's kind of what I'd expect. I see an A. Hi, there's features. I don't know. I'm blurry-eyed right now. I just kind of want to look at the inside. Next up, we've got Wicked City. Which I do believe I have on DVD. Can't grab this stupid plastic. Stupid plastic. Let's see, audio. I see a bunch of English options, a Japanese option. Subtitles, of course. Remastered in high definition includes both US and UK English versions. So that's why there's so many English. I see. US, UK. Interesting. That's pretty good. Well, I wonder. I see an A over here, so that may be worthwhile to note for anybody who likes importing. That seems to be region A only. Okay, so these both have the same cover, but it looks like it's invertible, which I kind of want to do just because. Did I miss that for another one? No, Space Adventure Cobra was not invertible. I don't remember about the case closed, but I don't think so. But I really like it when those are different. And last but not least, we have Kemono Michi Rise Up. What is this? Like, I guess I would call myself morbidly curious. You know, this looks like the kind of show that it's like, oh, those are some interesting designs. It's a not very standard design for a main guy, which is already interesting. These three girls, it's really hard to tell. They look like they could be interesting, varied, or only slightly varied off of normal expected concepts. He's got friends worth fighting for. Okay, region A. There is an English dub. Now make room in your collection. I don't know. The only reason I wouldn't say this is the thing I'm most curious about. So the reason Persona 5 is not above this or the other one being, of course, My Hero Academia Season 4. You know, My Hero Academia, pretty big. Persona's also pretty big, but I haven't caught the Persona bug, so well, are they wrestlers? I don't know if it doesn't make it worse. But I don't know what to make of this. Well, anyways, obviously My Hero Academia Persona just isn't higher, mostly because I haven't caught the Persona bug. I'm curious about it. This one's just like an out of left field sort of thing that I wasn't expecting. But okay. I guess this is some sort of weird wrestling anime. If I were to take a shot in the dark, it looks like maybe it's girls wrestling girls, and this guy maybe isn't the main character, these girls are, and he's their trainer? I don't know. Anyways, we got a nice big update this week. Here's this week's anime DVD collection update. So, Dr. Stone was pretty much the first thing I fired up, and it's, is this recording? It is recording, okay. So, last week I talked about ZX Code, whatever that was, and, you know, my main criticism of it was, you know, the first episode doesn't really give you anything to kind of hook onto and say, okay, yeah, I definitely really want to watch that. And so it was really nice that Dr. Stone gave you good stuff within the first 3 minutes. And there's an interesting thing there where, okay, yeah, there are unexplained things that are introduced in the first episode of both of them, but it's interesting to kind of extend it further. It's not just about, oh, there's an unanswered question. It's about experience. So when you're telling a story, you want the characters to experience it. So for ZX, they really needed to set it up where our main character was going through an experience and not just kind of on a roller coaster ride where the show's like, yeah, we'll just take her and you, the audience, to wherever we feel like answering the questions. So Dr. Stone, like within the first 3 minutes, I actually brought up the time. I'm like, okay, yeah, this show has given me like 3 or 4 different reasons I'm interested to see what's going on, because the experience that people are going through is interesting, and or it's a mystery, and it's like this affects the people there. I want to see what their reaction to it, what happens to people, and you know, it's really good, and I think it stays pretty watchable. They have this thing where the main female cast have this weird, they always do weird things with their lips, and I find it to be a little creepy. Not like what are the show's creators doing, but more like, I don't know, it feels like it's getting slightly uncanny valley, like they're stepping outside of being anime character. Nah, that's not a very good way to explain it. I don't know. It just sort of feels like I think the emotions being portrayed are coming off to me differently than what the animators / creators are intending. But that's an aside. You know, this show has flaws to it, but for the most part, it's pretty entertaining. The idea is our main character, who's obviously never lost a game of spot the protagonist. You know, he's probably second place next to Yu-Gi-Oh! In that regard. You know, he's super science guy, and then every person in the world gets turned into stone. But he and another guy, you know, on the back here, break out of their stone imprisonment, basically, and he's trying to basically get humanity through all of the ages of cultural evolution as quick as possible. So there's a huge part of this show that is actually dedicated to very real life, I guess, advancements in human capabilities. Think of it sort of like the fire and the wheel are, you know, like the standard, oh, caveman stuff or something, and here's how different, you know, it's interesting because it's more advanced than just, oh yeah, so we have the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, this Iron Age, or something like that. It's actually about absolutely everything, it's just building stuff up, and it's really neat. It is definitely a lot like watching a primitive technology video on YouTube and seeing how stuff is done from a natural state, except of course it's existing at a higher level to kind of explore, okay, people are trying to do this. So it's interesting. It gives you a lot of insight into kind of how a lot of things we take for granted, how they kind of form from the nothingness that is a completely untamed nature, I suppose. And story-wise, they've set up an antagonist. And he's really hypocritical. And yeah, it is what it is, and it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, fine, whatever. Yeah, it is what it is. But I think most of the interesting point comes around the exploits of our celery-headed main fellow. Even though when the show begins, it's really centered around that guy being the protagonist, which is very surprising. You know, the show kind of has some basic problems with it, which are things that are a common problem in a lot of medium, and it is whatever. For example, there is a scene with lions attacking our main characters, and those are the most unlion-like lions I've seen. Like, they're not acting like lions do at all, in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they act more like they are a group of 5 individual bears that have decided they want to cautiously go on the attack. Because, right, lions are ambush predators, and this isn't something where it's just like, oh yeah, they learned that, but these are escaped zoo animals, so they wouldn't know that. It's a pretty instinctual. Like, a cat's instincts are pretty fine-tuned to cause them to do that. You can just look at a video on how a lion catches a dumbass bird that's just like, oh, I'll just sit here in this lion den. Now, to give the bird some credit, it doesn't know that it's a lion den specifically, but the lions understand it just because they can't go anywhere else. But, you know, even there, you can kind of see lions behave the same way as cats. They have a certain way of thinking. The only difference is lions coming from a place where there's not a lot of ambush space, I guess. It's advantageous for lions to be able to form prides, even if I think there's some shakiness to it. But anyways, the point is, they don't really look like lions. They look way too bulked up, and like they look like they're bodybuilding lions, and this is all of them just to make them all look intimidating. And you know, that's just a common problem in anime. It's the same problem I've mentioned before, where you'll have a show which has a cat and you're like, that's adorable. That's not the way cats think or move or act. But, you know, it is what it is. And the other problem is just actually a common problem in general, which is the main character speaks a lot of science, but this show really isn't about science. It's actually about engineering, I would say. Because, like, if there's a difference between the two, science is about building models of understanding of the world. And he does some scientific stuff at the beginning, which is, I mean, I say this at the beginning, but I mean, like, before everybody got turned to stone, it shows that he did some experimentation with building a rocket. And he was repeating stuff that other people had done, but science includes that. And sometimes the model is about, building the model is sometimes about discovering new things, and sometimes it's about verifying existing things. And that's the trick. He's not really doing either. He's actually taking the results from those and trying to, most of his learning in this show is about trying to figure out how to practically apply that knowledge. And that's really more of an engineering feat. But that's a common thing, not even just in the show. Most people don't really understand what science is. They just treat it like a religion. Which is interesting, because I remember when I was younger when people were saying that science was a religion, and the truth of the matter is, it's not. It's a mindset that comes about questioning, understanding, building models of understanding of the world. And so, in that regard, it is theoretically possible for scientific creationism to exist, but the problem is scientific creationism isn't scientific. It's not about building a model, testing a model, etc. It's about having a predisposed assumption and then doing everything it can to twist facts to fit that. And the fact that it has to twist facts is what makes them definitely a bad model, where you can't create predictions. That's the point. Is if you create a model of physics such that you understand that energy is conserved, then you have certain predictions about, okay, well, if I have a ramp ball at the top, by the time it's at the bottom, it'll be going this fast. You know, that's a prediction that you would make, and you would measure it, and you would find out, oh, I guess there's this thing called friction, but it was pretty damn close. You know, things like that. And again, people also really don't get it. They think science is about listening to what people said is the facts, and so those are the facts. And it makes sense because that's the way a lot of people are taught science in school. Like, they're also taught to kind of the scientific model, but the science class is inevitably about the results and not the process. And, you know, it's a similar problem with computer science. It's my understanding a lot of computer science departments, while they do cover theoretical stuff, a lot of computer science degrees tend to be more practical application, whereas mine came from a university that is like, computer science is really mostly about the mathematical theories underlying all of it. And it's not necessarily a science, because a lot of it is math, and math, while it can have discoveries, isn't about building models of math. But there is also some parts of computer science that are building models, and so it's weird, but computer science tends to be a little more of a math, and computer programming tends to be a little more of an engineering sort of thing, a practical application of theories, ideas, and stuff. But I digress. I guess I digress a lot, because overall, you know, I found it to be very fun, despite this stuff, because it's really neat to see, oh, yeah, this thing that we all take for granted. Well, is that how it builds up? Interesting. So, unfortunately, you know, you go through the dozen episodes really quick. Otherwise, I watched 3 episodes of Wasteful Days of High School Girls, and it's okay. Something about the characters, while they're amusing, is not making me super desperate to watch it. And I think it's the way characters tend to be introduced. Like, I think it's Place to Place. That one kind of had a similar problem, where it feels like it just sort of dumps these characters on you, and you're just supposed to immediately like their quirks, and that doesn't work as well for me, I think. I think it didn't properly introduce them, I felt. So it's just sort of like, okay, well, Robo's Robo, and it's just like, oh, she's the quirky one. And I don't feel like... I feel like she was just thrown at us. And, I don't know, it kind of makes it where the funny personalities don't stick as well. You know, 3 episodes in, it was better. But for my own personalness, there's that. But I can say, you know, it seemed pretty amusing. Nothing about it struck me as gut-bustingly hilarious. Just amusing. Yeah, I'm wondering if I have much else to say. Could watch more, but with my distractedness, I tend not to. Let's see. With my friend that I'm watching, Goblin Slayer. Well, I'm rewatching it. He's watching it for the first time. You know, we got past the Watertown. And I'm not sure if it's super engaging for him, which kind of makes sense because traditionally he doesn't get attached to characters unless, you know, he gets exposed to them for a long period of time, which is why a lot of the long-running shows tend to be good, but some of the shorter-running shows work just fine. For me, it's just interesting to watch it and just think a little bit more about a lot of the Dungeons & Dragons influences, but, you know, it has its own stuff. But the reason I think that he's maybe not as into it is because he did talk about, maybe this week we will watch My Hero Academia Season 4 Part 1, which basically means he's prioritizing that over finishing Goblin Slayer, and, you know, that's his own preference. I mean, I do think... I'm trying to remember what the first couple story arcs were, because some of the real awesome stuff happens there, but I don't know, I just think a lot of the awesomeness just happens throughout the series. It's great. I mean, I think I mentioned before that I finally picked up that I think they're very deliberately trying to set things up where Goblin Slayer is the kind of person who, if he were a D&D character, then his player would have been all about exploiting mechanics in the game or finding unique ways to use stuff. Goblin Slayer is entertainingly pragmatic, like pragmatic to the extreme. And I think I've described before that it's really fascinating watching him, because despite the fact that, you know, he's, you know, wanting the death of goblins really badly and obsessed about it and could be called a sociopathic murderer to a certain extent, he really does seem like a professional at work, and that's really entertaining, I guess. But let's see, outside of that, I was actually reminiscing about Tenchi in Tokyo. So, I've mentioned it before, but of the old 3 Tenchi stuff, Tenchi in Tokyo was actually my favorite. And it's interesting because that one's rated pretty badly, and I'm not sure if that rating is entirely fair. Some people were saying, oh yeah, it's fair, it just failed to live up, but no, I think it's actually being dragged down by the fact that people want to call Sakuya a Mary Sue, and I'm not sure she is. The main issue I have with that is she's definitely set up to be getting something that, within the context of all the Tenchi Muyo stuff, is considered highly desirable without seeming to put much effort into it. But the truth of the matter is Tenchi in Tokyo sets up a different set of characters. It actually gives Tenchi a very realistic kind of approach to, oh god, I'm surrounded by a bunch of crazy people. Because most of them are crazy. Even though they are very fun characters to have and see. And Sakuya is a very plain character. And it kind of makes sense. Especially, see the problem is they don't bend the rules of the universe to really do that. They've established a different set of characters, but they've established a very realistic approach to that stuff, which is he likes these girls, but he's being driven crazy by them. And the truth of the matter is Sakuya's relationship to Tenchi is actually important and notable to the story. And I would agree with somebody that says the story's not that great, because Tenchi in Tokyo, to me it feels like it has a good story, but that's just really because I really like the ending. There's some things they goof about it, but it does something that the other Tenchi stuff doesn't do, and that's it creates a compelling villain, I guess. Like, the problem with a lot of Tenchi villains is they tend to be pretty shallow, stereotypical, which is unfortunate because they're also generally pretty cool, but it kind of means, I want power, I want to be the most acknowledged scientist, I'm going to become the ruler of Jirai. You know, it's kind of cookie cutter in their motivations and stuff like that. And it's tricky because, like with the Tenchi Muyo Ryoki, which is, in other words, all of the Tenchi Muyo OVA stuff, the lore is really what's really great about that one. Execution is kind of weird when I went back to it, because I kind of realized they were very deliberately introducing Ryoko in a very 90s anime character sort of way. I don't know why I never realized it before. Even though I kind of always knew she felt a little out of place in that first episode. Like, they didn't develop a better, more consistent personality for her after that. That made sense for what kind of character she was. Whereas the first episode really wanted to make sure you were sold on the fact that she's cute. And to be fair, Ryoko is adorable in her own space piratey sort of way. But yeah, the point is, you know, this it's usually the lore that's really good about Tenchi Muyo, and the building up of it, and the this is this and that, and these characters are this. And Tenchi Universe, I kind of felt, I never really liked Tenchi Universe. I always liked it the least of the three because there were 3 arms of it. One of those was the introduction of the characters, which was pretty much copy what the original OVA did, but not anywhere near as well, except with Mihoshi, which was completely stupid. Trying to be funny, but messing up the characterization of Mihoshi that they had within that show. It's... yeah. And it reused some of the same jokes from Tenchi Muyo without really doing them anywhere near as well. And, you know, that's a bad start. The ending was just very... why do I care? Again, the villain was shallow, but I don't even think he was that cool. Even though he was just a reused Tenchi villain. So, you had those extremes, and then in the middle, I just kind of remember it being a little meandery. So, if you compare to Tenchi in Tokyo, obviously from an overall story arc, I don't know that it begins good from a story perspective, but I thought it did pretty well from an introducing villain perspective, even though it's a little weird and confusing, but... Tenchi in Tokyo is mostly interesting because of the villain, but from an episode per episode, as you're making your way through the series and whatever little story is there, I'd say it's actually pretty watchable just because the individual episodes tend to be pretty funny in their own way. It's kind of a comedy with a tragedy built into it, kind of. And that's what makes the ending kind of work. You can get from the beginning to the ending, and it has all this silly moments where you're just like, okay, yeah, it's... I really like the slapstick here. This episode works. Money, money, money. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. Never underestimate a giant purple monster. You know, lots of funny little things like that that make the individual episodes entertaining. And then when the drama stuff happens, I thought that music was actually pretty good. Like, the music outside of that, for the everyday stuff, you know, it's just fun, whimsical, but kind of normal. There's a dangerous thing happening here is usually pretty forgetful. But then when it comes to the heavy drama, emotional stuff, that music's pretty great and effective. So, you know, it's just very strange. I mean, going back to it, it's, you know, rewatching little pieces here and there, it's like, yeah, I look at that show and I'm like, I really like Tenchi Muyo and its world building. I don't care for Tenchi Universe, but Tenchi in Tokyo is the one that gets me a little teary-eyed at the end. And I guess I just appreciate that, and I understand what it does that I've latched onto that I really like so much. Because, yeah. And, you know, again, acknowledging there are things that are definitely wrong with it. I think probably the worst thing about it is the backstory of the main characters. The antagonist is fine, just because they're a new character and they are their own thing, and it ties very well within the theming arc for the villain. But for our main characters, it's just kind of, oh, yeah, aren't these people always supposed to be together? And it ties into the narrative of the story kind of well with why a whole lot of things that happen do happen. But it is still one of those things where it's just like, yeah, I don't think this is how a harem gets built. I'm going back to Tenchi Muyo. Even Tenchi Universe, I think, builds up the harem a little more realistically, but I don't remember the details. So, you know, mix of preferences there. It's similar to how, even though Cowboy Bebop is the 90s space western that is the one that everybody liked, there are still people out there that prefer Trigun and Outlaw Star over it. And, you know, again, of that trio, you know, Cowboy Bebop is actually lowest on my list, even though it is a masterpiece. And that's because it's not really telling a story. So when you watch Cowboy Bebop as a series, you just experience all these little experiments they have, and they're all pretty great. You know, even like Jet episodes, which I think I don't like because they tend to be slightly more noirish, even those are pretty good. And like I said, I generally tend to enjoy things despite them being noir. It's like the noirness isn't the appeal to me.
And Cowboy Bebop pulls stuff like that off well, but Trigun has a story it's telling, and Outlaw Star has a story it's telling, and I like those stories. The stories are beginning to end, even though I think Outlaw Star may be a little more story-ish in that regard. But, anyways, you know, that's all stuff. So let's see. I guess that ends this week's anime DVD collection update. Should be interesting to see what Steve in Smash Brothers will be like. I'll, give that a shot myself. But I don't know that y'all will see anything about that. Maybe I'll have something to say about it. But if not, y'all, have a nice week.